Hey guys, this is Dave with Gen 3D Tech. Today we're going to be reviewing the Fnatic Bolt Wireless. Let's check it out. So anyways, this is the Fnatic Bolt. I pre-ordered it when it first came available. It shipped out on the 21st and I got it on 22nd. It shipped out of Amazon warehouse, I believe. I have one very close to my house, so I got it right away and I've been using it since then. And I've been enjoying my time with this mouse. I watched a bunch of the reviews from all the people who got it ahead of time. I agree with most of the things that people said, and there's a few things that were different for me, mostly because my particular copy of the mouse doesn't have any of the issues that other people were complaining about, but I totally don't discount those issues. Just from watching the reviews and looking on Reddit, poring over what people were having issues with, it did seem the vast majority of them happened to be with the white copy of this unit, but there were a few black units that did have some issues. It did appear to me that the white units tended to be the ones that were having the most issues, and I'll go over some of those issues here in a bit. But like I said, I guess I just got lucky and my particular copy doesn't have any of the things that people were complaining about, other than the things that were intentional, like the side switches, which a lot of people don't like. I don't mind them so much. They do sound a little hollow because they're actually not the KL 8.0 switches. They're some sort of micro dot switch and they sound really hollow. So as far as the shape of this mouse, it most resembles Zowie S2. Size-wise, it's bigger than a Viper Mini, which it's also similar to, but smaller than a regular Viper. It's kind of in between the two. It's flat on both sides. It's fairly narrow, and my hands are 19 by 10 centimeters. And for my size, I think it actually fits really nice. But I would think if you have 20 centimeter or larger hands, you're probably not going to like this mouse as much. Or if your hands are too small, like let's say 17 or below, it might be a little too big for you. So the sweet spot seems to be about 17 and a half to 19 centimeters. Another complaint that I saw was the screw holes, which are typically under the mouse feet, are underneath this sticker right here, which upset a few people. But if you're not the kind of person that that opens up your mouse and mods it, then you probably don't care, which I venture is the majority of the people. But if you are someone who likes to tinker with the mouse, it does take a little bit more time to get into it. So, keep that in mind if you're interested in this mouse. If you're someone who likes to tinker with the mouse and you don't want to void the warranty, you might want to look at other mice besides this one. So specs-wise, this mouse comes in at 67 grams, which is about 2 grams lighter than the white copy, which comes in about 69 grams. I put it on my scale and it's actually correct. Here you can see on the bottom it supports Bluetooth and 2.4 gigahertz. Or you could actually just plug it in and just use the cable also. You get better battery life if you use Bluetooth, but for gaming you're going to want to keep it on 2.4. It has a 3370 sensor, which is in pretty much most of the flagship mice these days, and the implementation of the sensor is very good. I don't have any problems with the sensor whatsoever on this mouse. And it has as you can see, USB-C for charging, which is great. That's a big plus. It has KL 8.0 switches, rated at 80 million clicks. And the feet, I don't have any problem with them. They're decent. You get an extra set in the box, so don't think you really need to replace them. I'm sure that with that and the extra set, it'll probably last you the lifetime of this mouse. The scroll wheel, it's actually very nice. It's tactile and almost virtually silent, and it's got these little bolts on here, and it's the only place where there's some RGB. I went into the software and made it orange just to kind of match the Fnatic colors, but you can change it to whatever you want. There's a couple other options like breathing and whatnot, but I mean, it's pretty basic. The DPI button, as you can see, is very recessed in there, so you won't accidentally hit it, which I definitely appreciate that. As for the build quality, some people have reported issues with this mouse, like button rattle, for example. My particular mouse is very solid. There's zero rattle whatsoever. No side flex. None on the top. And there's a minimal amount on the bottom. The buttons, to me, sound pretty good. Other people have had issues with these. This is how it sounds. As far as the balance, it's a very nicely balanced mouse. Some people say that it's a little back heavy in the way it feels with the sensor. I don't have any problem with it myself, but I have heard other people complain about that. One thing, when I got this mouse, the software wasn't available, and I had to contact support and find out that the reviewers that got this mouse ahead of time got a beta copy of the software, so they were able to test it with the actual software. So I kind of held off on the review because I wanted to test it with the software. There was a firmware update on the 24th, and I got the software, and we'll look over that here right now real quickly, and then we'll move on with the review. All right, here's the software for the Bolt. It's very basic, but I don't mind that. Battery indicator here. Got option of 4 different profiles. All right, here's the device info, which gives you the firmware version. There was a firmware update, and I went ahead and ran it, so I'm currently at 1.4.2. Right here's the performance tab. You can adjust the CPI settings here, and the liftoff distance, I got it set to 1 millimeter. Polling rate was at 1,000, which is good. Debounce, I moved it down to 1 millisecond, and I haven't had a problem with that. Color editors right here. You can change the different effects right there. I just made it mostly solid and made it orange. That's pretty much it. It's very basic, very simple, but it works. I believe they're going to be adding more to this because it just came out. All right, well, that's the software. And let's move on to the performance of this mouse. From when I'm reviewing a mouse, how it performs for me, next to the durability of the mouse, build quality, is performance is the most important thing. You know, you could have a tank of a mouse, but if it performs terribly, you know, who cares? Or vice versa, if you have a great performing mouse but it only lasts a month, you know, that's not a good deal either. The shape for me works really well, and I did notice that I performed above average compared to the other mice that I have. I would definitely say it's one of the better mice as far as how I perform with it. It's on the smaller side from what I normally use, and typically I find those small mice not very comfortable, but this mouse was actually pretty comfortable for me, and I performed pretty good with this mouse. It definitely didn't fight me, or sometimes when I'm using a mouse and I still do well, it's in spite of the mouse. But this mouse right here worked really well for me. Like I said, it's definitely one of the better mice that I've used. I have heard other people say that it was just okay for them. But, you know, most of them mentioned that depending on, you know, the size of your hands or how you hold or grip style the mouse, that it could be a really good mouse for you. And for me, it is. And also, like I said, I got lucky and I didn't have any issues with build quality on this mouse. The build quality for me is really good. It is unfortunate there is people having build quality issues. The one thing that I have seen is that their support has been very responsive, and that if you have an issue, you know, submit a ticket and they will replace it, as far as I've seen so far. But if you've had issues with the support or replacing this mouse, please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear if that's not the case. As for grip styles, I think most people are going to use a claw style grip with this. You know, you can do an aggressive claw style or relaxed claw style. You could probably fingertip this mouse. I can even palm this mouse. Some other people whose hands are like 20 or above, your fingers are gonna overhang if you try and palm it. But so when I'm just dinking around in Windows, I find myself palming this mouse. So it's a decent all-around mouse also, which, like I've mentioned in the past, some of these mice are really good for gaming, but not so good just for doing like office style work. But you could do both with this for sure. So if you're looking for a, you know, nice versatile mouse and your hands are, like I said, between 17 and 19 centimeters, then this mouse will probably work for you. Bigger than 19, you'll probably want to look at a larger mouse like the Ninjitsu Katana Wireless, like I reviewed just recently. The other thing I wanted to mention is people complained about the coating of this mouse. And this mouse is actually uncoated. Same with the white unit. I asked, since I don't have one, I asked. The only difference between the white and the black unit is that they did spray a chemical. They treated the white units with a chemical to prevent yellowing of the plastic, but it's not an actual coating. So this is actually the raw plastic. And if you look real close, there's a little bit of texture on it. For me, it doesn't slip at all. It grips really well for me. Some of the people who are complaining about it being slippery also mentioned issues when your hands are sweaty. I can't attest to that because my hands almost never ever get sweaty. So especially when I'm inside, maybe if I'm outside in 100-degree weather and everything is sweaty. But as far as when I'm sitting at my desk and gaming, well, I just don't have that issue. So it's not something I can test. But for people who do have that issue and claim that it's slippery, I'll take your word for it. Of course, you know, it's very easy to get around. You just get some grip tape. So far, the only time I've ever actually used grip tape is on mice that have holes. And it's never been really for the grip. It's just been, I don't like the feeling of the holes on the side. So if I can cover them up, I will. And I'm glad to see that, you know, that they went with a solid shell instead of having holes in them. And I think we're going to see a return back to solid shells, or at least, you know, like the X-Lite that's coming up, they made the sides solid again. So it's nice to see that. So in conclusion, what do I think of this mouse? I think if you're lucky enough to get a good copy of the mouse and you have the right hand size for this mouse, it's a really excellent mouse, especially for the money. You know, it's only around $80. And as far as if I would change anything, I would have liked to seen it just a little bit lighter, a little closer to 60 grams. I would have liked to seen a snappier switch used for the side buttons. And the main buttons, you know, I would have liked to see them be a little bit more spammable. I don't think they're bad. I just think they could have been a little bit better. But other than that, it's, you know, I'm being pretty nitpicky. For the money, I think it's an excellent mouse. So after this review, if you're still interested in this mouse, you know, leave a comment. Or if you're having issues with this mouse, leave a comment too, please. And one thing I'd like to mention is if I constantly use this mouse after the review, I will do a follow-up review months later and report on, you know, my opinion on the mouse. Did it change? Did I run into long-term issues? Because there's definitely several mice that I continue to use in a rotational basis. And so I will be doing some follow-up reviews on some of these mice. Like I said, I really do like this mouse, and it is a shame that other people have had issues with this, because I think everyone should have got the same experience that I got, which is a really solid mouse, especially for the price, $80. I'm very happy with the mouse, and I'm sad that other people had issues with it, but there is not a single mouse out there that's going to please everyone. But definitely the quality issues should be a minimum on a mouse release, and I don't know if the issues are above norm, but it sounds like they're willing to resolve them. So if you think after watching all these reviews that this might be a mouse you might be interested in, I say, you know, go for it. And worst case, you don't like it, and you can maybe ask for a refund or get a different unit that doesn't have the issues that you're having. I don't have any major issues with this mouse whatsoever. I doubt I'm just someone lucky enough to get one particular copy. I imagine the vast majority of them are perfectly fine, and there's just a few. I mean, more often than not, people come and post things when they have something negative on their mind, rather than being positive. It's just human nature. So, you know, for every 10 negative posts, there's probably 100 happy people. For me, for this to have been, you know, a top tier recommended mouse, I just would have needed the couple things that I mentioned, like slightly better clicks and better switches on the side. If those things had been in there, I definitely would have given this my top recommendation. But it's just really just short of that, so it's very close. Anyways, guys, that's it for today. If you liked the review, please like and subscribe. I don't want you to miss out, because I got lots of great content coming soon, and I'll see you next time. Stay safe, everyone.